Parshas Terumah, Tavshin Pei. So once again, we change subjects in the Torah this week, and we go on to talking for the next few weeks about the Mishkan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave a command. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted Klal Yisrael to have a Mishkan amongst themselves. And really these Parshias over the next few weeks that discuss the building of the Mishkan and all the Kalim and everything that was inside the Mishkan, actually quite fascinating Parshias. And in a Torah where every single letter, every letter in the Torah, if there's a thought that there's maybe an extra letter, and we learn so many things out of every letter in the Torah is accounted for. And you take a look what's going on the next few weeks, Parshas Terumah, Tzaveh, Kisisa, Vayakhel, Pekudei, all these Parshios we repeat over and over. Build the Mishkan, how to build the Mishkan. The Mishkan was built. Obviously, the Mishkan is a very, very fascinating and chashuv thing in the Torah. And Hashem chose to instruct us to construct, to build a Mishkan as a place for Hashras Hashchina. Yes, right here, right down here, on this world, on this earth, on our world that is full of Gashmias, our world that is full of Taivas, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this is where I want to be. I could stay up there, Kaviyachal, I could stay up there, where maybe it's holier, and it's always holy, and it's on a very high level. But no, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, on this world where you are, mundane, physical world, this is where I want a home. I want to build a home in this neighborhood. I want it to be a home amongst Klal Yisrael. And that alone is very fascinating. And suffice it to say that this home for the Shekhinah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted had nothing to do with any huge square footage, didn't have to do with any elevators in the home, bowling alleys, tennis courts, all the things that are now considered important to put in your house. All these things that we think are very important, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he said to build his home, it had nothing to do with any of these things. None of those things of Gashmias, not the height of the ceilings, which country the furniture was imported from, all of it nonsense and irrelevant. Totally nothing to do with that. And the way it should be, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us that we're going to discuss how to build a home that surrounds Ruchnius, that surrounds spirituality, that it is being built with things that are really important, things which are on a totally different level. And what Hashem is telling us, says in Nesivos Shalom, Hashem is telling us that each and every one of us has that same obligation to create and to build a home, to create an atmosphere and an environment of spirituality where Hashem would be comfortable. If you want a barometer, you want to know how to gauge your home, you ask that question, will Hashem be comfortable here? And be sure that it has nothing to do with the price tag or any of the other things that we mentioned. You need to answer these questions honestly. Will Hashem be comfortable in this home that I built? And the commandment of the Mishkan, says in Nesivos Shalom, was not just a commandment for those times, for that time. It's a commandment forever. It speaks to every single one of us. And all the Gashmias things that somehow become important and are the focus of our lives, many, many times they're gone in a minute. We think they're important. Sometimes we even wish they were important. We want them to be important. But what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us is that all those things they could be gone in just 1 minute. That's not the home of Hashem. That's not how Hashem builds his home. Hashem wants one thing. He wants a place of Ruchnius and not a house of cards. The Torah tells us in the Parsha of the Mishkan, V'chein ta'asu. It tells us to build the Mishkan and then V'chein ta'asu. And thus it should be done. So Chazal tell us that you know what v'chein tasu means? V'chein tasu means l'doiros, for all generations. And that's the key word over here, where we get the idea and an indication that Hashem is not just talking to Moshe Rabbeinu or to the door of the Midbar. Hashem is saying it's v'chein tasu l'doiros, for future generations, that even when there is no Beis HaMikdash, unfortunately, we have obligations of ruchnius elevation, that we have to elevate our level, we have to build in a way of ruchnius. And Hashem tells us in the Torah, further on, the Torah says, V'his kadash tem, v'yisem kedoshim, the Pasuk tells us. V'his kadash tem, v'yisem kedoshim. And the Nesivos Shalom explains that what this Pasuk is telling us is that if you try, we say, what? How could we build a house that Hashem is going to want to live in? What a lofty goal. What a tremendous obligation. What a monumental task. V'his kaddish tem, v'yisem kedoshim. You start. You begin. You put in your effort. You take the first step, and Hashem will help you. And the same way, Klal Yisrael now in the Midbar, they were able to build a Mishkan. They were able to have Kabbalah Satira. They were able to have Kriyas Yamsuf. But what? Where were they coming from? They're coming from Mitzrayim. They're coming from being down in the Mem Tes Sharei Tumah. They were all the way down, and look what they were able to do. They were Zoichet the Kriyas Yamsuf, building of the Mishkan, Kabbalah Satira, all these things. V'chein tasu l'doiros. We could do the same thing. That each and every individual, wherever you may be holding in your life, whatever stage you're in, whatever level you're on, you could do the same as Klal Yisrael in the Midbar. You could come all the way back, and you yourself are able to elevate yourself to the point of the Asuli Mikdash, v'shochanti b'soicham, to make for HaKadosh Baruch Hu a Mikdash, v'shochanti b'soicham, that Hashem is going to want to live in that Mishkan. But the key is you need to make the decision that you want to grow. That's what Hashem wants you to do. You may not be able to accomplish it all on your own. You may not be able to accomplish everything yourself, but you need to make the decision that you want to grow. You have to show Hashem that you have ambitions. You're an ambitious person. You're not just content to stay in park. And Nesivos Shalom says from the Birkas Avram, a very beautiful vart. Birkas Avram brings it from the Tiferes Shloimeh on the Pasuk in Vayikra. The Pasuk starts in the beginning of Vayikra. What a beautiful vart this is. He says, Adam ki akriv mikem korban lashem. A person that wants to bring from himself a korban to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does he bring it from? It says, min ha-behema, min ha-bakar, u'min ha-tzoin, takrivu es korbanchem. That's how you bring a korban. Nesivos Shalom brings down a beautiful pshat from Tiferes Shloimeh, the Rav Domska, and he says, the word yakriv, aside from sacrifice, the word yakriv means to be close, to bring yourself close. Adam ki yakriv mikem, someone that wants to bring of yourself, to come close, to be mikurav to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You know how you do it? Min ha-behema, min ha-bakar, min ha-tzoin. You learn a lesson from the animals. You need to learn a lesson from Behema. What kind of a lesson from Behema? What kind of lesson you learn from Behema to be close to Hashem? That you know what? The lesson is that just like a person, imagine you can walk out and take a Behema from outdoors, right? A person wants to bring a korban. He goes to the corral and he brings a Behema and he says on this Behema, now this Behema, you're Kadosh. This behema, I'm makdish this behema, I'm making it holy, and this behema now has kedusha. And you know what? Look at that. It works. It works. A person says, I want to make this behema. This is a grubba behema. It's a behema that's not, it's an animal. And you can make it kadosh. So that's the lesson we have to learn. That if it works for a behema, you pick a behema from the field, you take a behema out of the corral, and you're able to just say, I want to make this behema holy, and it becomes holy. How much more so if you decide yourself that you want to become holy? If you decide on yourself that you want to become something, that you want to grow, of course, all you got to do is just start, say something, and that's how it'll work. But it's always the first step is to say, I want to make it happen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to take that first step, to decide that the real things that are important to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the way Hashem would want to build His house, those are the things that are now important to me. All the other shtusim and all the other things that we think are important, that we put up on a pedestal, that we decide that somehow they're important, Hashem says, no. That those things are going to be worthless in Shamayim. Those things are not what I want. That's not how I build my home. And when you take that first step, V'his Kaddish Tem, V'hisem Kedoshim, you take that first step, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, V'hisem Kedoshim, I'll help you. Don't worry, you'll get there. I want you to take the first step. And Nesivos Shalom says something very, very fascinating. He talks about, and he says, why? People say, I can't. It's so hard. Our lives are so revolving around Gashmias. We're so full of Gashmias. We're so, the physical world and all the luxuries that we have today, it's unbelievable. How can I extricate myself from that? So you know what Nesivos Shalom says, and he actually says this. He says you have to drop the magnet. If you yourself are full of Gashmias, if you yourself are a magnet for Gashmias, what do you want? Of course all the Gashmias is going to be attracted to you. You want to change. You want to become a person of spirituality. You want to actually see and realize what's important in life. How would Hashem build His home? And I want to use that blueprint for my house. Drop the magnet. As long as you're holding that magnet, everything's going to be attracted to you. The Gashmias is going to chase you down. And of course, Mida Toiva Meruba. We know that as much as something negative could be no good exponentially, where that magnet's going to attract everything. Mida Toiva Meruba, that if a person attains good midos, if a person becomes the magnet for those good things, how much more so it'll be easier that all the good things will be attracted to you now. And that's what Hashem is saying. V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'soicham. Build a mikdash. Build a holy place on this world. Yes, I'm not telling you to build it up in Shamayim. I'm not telling you to build it up in the clouds somewhere. I'm telling you to build it right here in this physical world. Drop the magnet. Understand, v'shachanti b'soicham. If I'm going to live there, it has to be a place that is waiting for me, a place that befits HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachal. And really, that's a lesson that we all have to learn in our own lives. What we surround ourselves with, how we create our homes, how we create the atmosphere around ourselves, how we build our homes in so many different ways, our families, our chavrusas, our chesed, how everything that we want to do is everything that we do that has a spiritual aspect to it, it's building another block for the home of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And our ambition should be that when it comes, after we pass a Shabbos like this week, where we're learning Parshas Trumah, this Shabbos, where we're learning this idea of how to build for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, should come out of the Shabbos. It should be a different Shabbos. It should be a different Shabbos Suda. It should be a different Shabbos davening. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be proud of us and look at us and say, that's where I want to be. That's a home that I want to live in. The Asuli Mikdash V'Shachanti B'Saycham.